Hey everyone, Carl with Littleroot Lessons bringing you a deep dive in the world of Pokemon featuring Regieleki. This is one of my Pokemon I wanted to cover at least like early in Series 8 stuff, but we hadn't gotten to it yet, and it's going to be great that we're covering Series 9 stuff because Regieleki is going to be very popular there as well. Before we get started, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications for when new videos go live, leave a comment down below who you want to see me cover for Series 9 prep. I got a lot of Pokemon that I want to get in before Series 9 starts, so you all are ready to rock and roll with that. But I want to know what you guys want to see, so I'm not just like doing things I want. This is more for people that need to help learn and things like that. So definitely comment down below who you want to see me cover next time. So Regieleki is new to the Pokemon world via the Crown Tundra and is very powerful and boasts the highest speed stat in the game. I remember correctly, it's a base 200, and if you do max EVs, gets you to 252, and if you do nature on top of that, it gets to 277, which is insane. Also has a very powerful transistor ability, so it actually deals a lot of damage with its stab electric type attacks. Things like Electro Web, Volt Switch, Thunderbolt, and its signature move, even Thunder Cage, which traps opposing Pokemon in, do just excessive amounts of damage. And the cool part about Regieleki is it fits a bunch of roles as well. It can be fast speed control, it gets access to Screech, you can do physical, you can do special, you can do screens. There's a lot of things that Regieleki can do, and overall just be very, very powerful. So the history of Regieleki starts in Series 7 with the Crown Tundra release. Dragapult was the fastest Pokemon in the game at that time. And then we got Regieleki. Regieleki is at 277 now, and it is so much faster. It warped the format around it. You have to be able to Fake Out or priority moves against it to where you can chip it down. Choice Scarf became more popular, just trying to either keep up or outspeed it, and maybe break speed ties that you might have with it. I know a big thing for Series 7 was trying to Sand Rush Dracovish, which could get pretty high because Series 7 Regielekis weren't running max speed. They were running 252, but they weren't timid nature. They were modest nature or a defensive nature, trying to live with screens a little bit longer. So you could get your Dracovish to 254, which would outspeed that Regieleki, and then clap it with Vicious Rend. However, in Series 8, they've definitely migrated to that. I have to be the fastest thing on the field all the time, so now we're 252 plus nature. We have Thunderbolt and Electro Web. We kind of dropped the screens because we don't need it as much anymore. Playing Magnet now, which leads us into our common partners here. It fits everywhere. Common partners usually are fairly easy to figure out because there's like 20%, 10% usage with this spawn, things like that. The most common used Pokemon is Landorus at 5%, and then there's a slew of 1% after it. So it's very flexible. It fits on any team, really. And Electric is a very good typing, like defensively. It only has one weakness, which is ground, which is super obvious when you see it. And it has a lot of actually like good resists as well. And because of that, it fits on a lot of teams. Commonly found on weather teams though, which is funny. So Sun plays it to beat Rain, so Groudon plays it to beat Kyogre, and then Kyogre plays it to outspeed Zacian, which it just makes this weird triangle. Granted, Regieleki isn't very good against Groudon itself, but it's good against Charizard. It's good against setting up electric terrain to not be slept by Venusaur. Things like that. So it's funny that it makes this weird triangle among the popular restricted Pokemon teams. However, like going deeper into that, the only way you set electric terrain really is by maxing it. But the question is, what do you max it? Why would you max it when you have all of these support moves? Electro Web, Protect, Volt Switch, Thunderbolt, Thunder, Rising Volt Switch, Electro Ball, Eerie Impulse, Screech, Hyper Beam, Reflect, Light Screen. These are just the top like 10 or 12. There's so much more after that. Physical Electri runs Wild Charge, Bounce, Assurance. You can run Acrobatics, Extreme Speed, things like that. So there's so many moves that Regieleki can run. For items, however, though, it's a little bit more narrow. A lot of Regielekis run Focus Sash just because they want to be able to protect themselves a little bit better, not get OHKO'd, things like that. Magnet helps improve their damage. I believe the calc is a Magnet 252 Elecki takes out Kyogre with a Thunderbolt almost 100% of the time. That's insane. Kyogre's very specially bulky, so the fact that this 100 base special attack Pokemon can try and OHKO Kyogre with a Thunderbolt is insane. Life Orb is found more on the physical sets than the special sets. You could also run Lumberry in that slot. I don't know. There was my buddy Navier, who's in the Discord, came up with this weird strategy of Swagger into Lumberry Regieleki to get a +2 boost, and then you OHKO everything. You don't have to worry about a thing with physical Elecki, and it's great. But Life Orb's not as popular just because you're very frail, your HP is very important, any kind of chip damage is going to hurt. Choice Scarf and Choice Specs are very rare. We're very good in Series 7, but not so much now because you want that utility of Electro Web, Volt Switch, and things like that. Choice Scarf being probably the more popular just because you get to outspeed opposing Elecki that aren't scarfed. So just things to think about there. As for movesets with Regieleki, a lot of your EVs are going to go 252 speed, 252 whatever I'm putting damage into, and then 4 into special defense to prevent P2 from getting download boosts. That's usually what you do. Physical Elecki obviously takes the physical attack, special Elecki obviously takes the special attack, and it's kind of just like whatever. The first set here is a light clay set with screens and Electro Whip and Volt Switch. This is like the Series 7-esque version for Series 8. The second set is the more common what you see. Electro Web for speed control, Thunderbolt to take care of Kyogre, Volt Switch to get out when we want to, and Protect to keep us from getting faked out on turn 1. And then the last set here is it's a combination of the Regieleki set that Navier came up with and the set that was played unfeatured on Aaron Cybertron Zhang's channel. Bounce, Wild Charge, Assurance, and Extreme Speed with Max Attack, Life Orb. Hits like a truck. You can max it, you don't have to max it, as Extreme Speed will do a lot of damage on its own. And it works because Regieleki's base damages are both 100, so you can flip back and forth and play with whichever one you like. So building with Regieleki is fairly easy. It's fast, so it can do a lot on teams. So it's like screens, speed control, like I mentioned earlier, Screech. There's a ton of things it can do. Avoid spread moves that hit your partner, especially Earthquake and Bulldoze. It's very fast, but also very frail. And screens don't protect you. It protects you from uncommon damage from your opponent, but not your own. So if you have to click Earthquake, get Elecki out of there as fast as possible. And speaking of that, switching Elecki out is never a bad thing. Avoiding ground type moves via flying type like Landorus or Thundurus or Yveltal and things like that is super handy to have because there's a lot of ground type coverage running around in Series 8. Groudon, what else runs it? Dialga, Palkia. I'm trying to think of the popular ground types. Landorus we mentioned. Mamoswine was popular in Series 7. Trying to think of other things. I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now. But ground type attack and coverage is very popular. So having a swap in for Elecki, being able to switch Elecki out off the other partner Pokemon is very good. Beating Regieleki is about as easy as putting it onto any team, though. Using priority moves to get a hit in before Regieleki moves is huge. Prankster's very good against it. Fake Out's very good against it. That's why a lot of the popular Elecki sets run Protect. And the more chip damage you get on it, the easier it's going to be to take out later on. Fake Out is probably the most popular move against it, just because it's +3 priority, so you outspeed Extreme Speed, so you don't have to worry about that. You don't outspeed Protect, but it lets you have pressure to switch out into something that can deal with Eleki better, like a Groudon or a Landorus and things like that. Also being able to use Prankster Tailwind to outspeed it, using its Pokemon like Tornadus or Whimsicott, or just switching in ground types to ignore the damage. If you switch into Electroweb, doesn't do anything, doesn't matter. Elekis usually only run electric coverage outside of the obvious physical set, and then the rare ones that run Hyper Beam. But Hyper Beam doesn't. It's easier for you to switch in a ground type and just hope they don't have them hope they don't have the Hyper Beam, or hope that they're not physical, than to play around like they're physical or have the Hyper Beam. So wrapping up with Regieleki here, it may be the fastest Pokemon on paper, but proper planning and knowing how to beat it, you can easily just outspeed it on your own. Priority moves are really important, Fake Out being the best one of the bunch. Other things I think of, Prankster Scary Face, Prankster Tailwind, what else here? If it's the screen variants, Prankster Taunt's very good, things like that. And speaking of the screen set, the move pool for Regieleki is very vast. They can run Thunder Cage, Electroweb. The sets I showed you are basic, and any move can be in any of those slots. So be very wary of weird sets and odd moves coming out of a Regieleki. So that being said, I want to thank everyone for hanging out with me for the past, 10-15 minutes. Regieleki was a long one. I definitely had a lot to talk about Regieleki because it's one of my favorites. It's very popular, right? It was very popular in Series 7, kind of fell off in Series 8. I'm expecting it to pick back up in Series 9 for sure. Make sure you, again, leave a comment down below who you want to see me cover next week. I've got a short list of Pokemon, but I'd like to see if any of those Pokemon line up with what people are wanting to see. Make sure you can follow us on Twitter at our Lessons for podcast updates and things like that. Personal Twitters are on screen right now if you want to reach out to us on there. Make sure to join the Discord. It's where we get all of our laddering teams and where you can communicate with us about deep dives, what you want to see, who you want to talk about deeper, things like that. There's so much more I can cover on these, but I'm trying to keep them short. That being said, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever in the world, and we will see you all next week. Bye, guys.